Hey guys, this is Alex Dubuisson, and today we'll be discussing how to utilize Git and version control for the BreazeHome application. If after this video you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and if you have any questions about the BreazeHome project as a whole, please contact Professor Masood Sajjadi, who is acting as both the product owner and mentor for this project. Now I'll be posting both of our contact info at the end of the video. Now, if you guys have viewed the wiki page, you may have seen this diagram. If what's shown here means absolutely nothing to you, that's perfectly fine, because by the end of the tutorial, the hope is that you should be able to follow what's happening in this diagram and apply its practices to the BreazeHome project. And with that said, we'll move on to a brief demo of how to utilize Git for the BreazeHome application. Alright, so here we are in the development virtual machine for BreazeHome. And the first thing we're going to want to do is open up the terminal and create a folder that's going to hold our local repositories. So I've already created one called examples. And we have two ways of initializing a local repository. I can either use git init, and it'll initialize a completely new local repository, which I can then later push remotely by specifying a proper URL. Or what we can do is clone a repository. And for the BreazeHome project, we're going to be cloning pre-existing repositories and doing the development on those repos. So what you're going to do is type Git Clone followed by the URL of the repository you want to clone. So to get this URL, we're going to go to the git.breazehome.com website, and we're going to log in with our credentials. And once here, let's say I want to clone this breeze-api.django repo. I'm not going to simply just copy this URL. I'm going to fork this repo, which is going to create a copy of this repository, and then copy the URL of that fork. Because when I'm doing development, I don't want all my changes to show up in this repo. Right? I don't want to mess up what other people are doing. I just want to make my changes in this forked repo, and once it's done and ready, I'll then merge it to this repo. So to actually fork from here, we're going to click this button called fork and just fill out the information and then fork the repository. So I've already created a forked version of this, so I'm not going to fork it again. And if you actually want to, instead of making your own fork, use someone else's fork, you can simply click on this number and you can see other forked repositories. So I'm going to go to my forked repository, which is right here, and I'm going to copy the URL. I can also copy by pressing this button. Go back to my terminal, paste the URL, and run the command. When I run it, it's going to ask for my login info, and it's the same login info that you used to get into the Git BreazeHome website. And once you enter your credentials, it'll make a clone. And I can see it's right here. So I'm gonna enter this repo. And once inside, if I want to check the status of this repo, all I have to do is type git status. And I can see I'm on the master branch and that I'm currently up to date. Now, if I wasn't up to date, I could pull from this repo by simply typing git pull. I have to enter my login info once again, and it would then pull the necessary files to bring me up to date. So what we're going to want to do now is we're not going to want to start development yet. Instead, we're going to want to create a branch from this local master repo, and the branch name will match the user story that we're doing the development for. So to do this, we're going to simply type git checkout, and the checkout switches the branch, followed by -b, which is going to create a new branch, and we give a name to this new branch. Now, proper naming convention is to put the ID of the user story, followed by a proper name for it. So all our user stories on the Mingle website have an ID followed by a title. So we're gonna give a short title for this. This will be for the view competition for a property. So I'll put competition, and I'll simply type in enter. And as I can see here, I've created this branch and I've switched to this new branch. So if I type git status, I can see I'm on this new branch. So even though I'm on this new branch, it's only been created locally and it's not reflected remotely. So what I'm going to want to do now is, let's say I make some changes to this branch. I added a new file. Let's say that file's called test.txt, and in this file I simply typed in change1. Alright, so once I've made a change to my repo, I want to add this change. So you're going to type git add followed by the name of the file that you've created the change to. Now when you're developing, you can create a lot of changes and add and create new files, and it gets kind of tedious typing git add for every single individual file. So to get around this, you can simply type git add asterisk, and it'll look through all the changes that you've made in the repo. So once you do that, you want to commit these changes. So we're going to type git commit -m followed by a message that reflects the changes that we made. So I'm going to just say that added new file called test.txt. Press enter and I can see I've committed this change. Now since this file and this repo is only on my local machine, when I push remotely, I'm going to have to specify where to push to. So I'm going to have to type in git push -u origin followed by the name of my branch, which was 2417 competition. Type enter. I'm going to put in my login info once again. And I successfully have pushed remotely. So if I go here, I'm going to refresh and check to my branches, I can see it right here. Okay. So let's say that now that we have our new branch that we're going to make all the development for. Let's say we've created some changes that we find acceptable. So I'm going to do another change to my test file, and I'm going to simply add a new line, call it change number 2. Alright, and I add this once again. I commit it. I'm going to put edit to test.txt. And now that I've already created this repo remotely, I don't have to specify where to push it to. I can simply just type git push, and that's enough. I put in my login info, and I've pushed. So let's say now that development for this user story is going along well, and I want to now merge these changes to my master local branch. So the proper way to do this, I find, is to first go into your user story branch, which we're in. If I check, we're in this branch. we're going to want to merge master into this branch. This is because if there are any conflicts, the conflicts will show up in our user story branch and not in our master branch. So our master branch can remain clean. And once we resolve any conflicts in our user story branch, we can then change to the master branch and merge from there. So I'm in the user story branch, and I'm going to simply type in git merge and want to merge to the master. So remember that our master is behind our user story branch, so there's really nothing to merge, so everything's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the master branch, and to switch branches I have to type in is git checkout followed by the name of the branch. Alright, if I do git status, I can see I'm in the master branch, and here I'm going to merge this branch to my user story branch. And just like that, I've merged to my user story branch. And it's that simple. So thus far we've gone over how to create a new local repo, how to pull any changes that there may be, how to create a new local repo, how to push any changes that you have, how to switch between various branches on your local machine. And if you want to, you can also look at the various commits I've done by typing git log. And here I can see the various commits that I've done. I can see where I added the new test file and when I edited the new text file. So I'm gonna get out of here, and simply to get out you're just gonna type in Q. And let's say now that you have finished your feature, your user story, you've merged it back to your master branch, and you are happy with what you have. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna push your master branch to the remote repository. Simply just type in git push and make sure you're in the master branch. Alright, we're in master, so you're gonna simply type in git push, and once you've pushed, you're gonna go to the online repo, and we're gonna go to the repo that we forked from, and you're gonna want to make a pull request. So simply click this button, pull request, and create a new pull request. And in this pull request, we'll give it a title, write a description of what you're trying to, what's in the pull request, what you're trying to merge to the repo. And down below, people can see what you're trying, what changes you've made, and whether or not the pull request should go through. So I'm not going to actually send this pull request, but when you do, simply just fill out this info and press pull request. Let's go back to the dashboard. And once you've sent the pull request, you simply wait for confirmation. But thus far in the video, we haven't run into any errors, right? Because sometimes you may make a commit that you don't want, and it may break your development environment. So to actually fix this, what you can do is you can go and if you remember, go to Git Log, and I can see the various commits that I've made. Let's say I didn't like this commit right over here, right? And I want to undo this commit. So to undo this commit, what we'll do is we'll actually go to, I want to actually move to this commit, right? Because I like when I created the new file called test.txt, but I don't like the edit that I made. So you're going to copy the commit ID number, and as long as you haven't pushed these changes remotely, you can simply type in git reset -- hard followed by the commit ID number and type in enter. Right? And once you do that, we've gone all the way back to the other commit. And if I go and type in vim test.txt, I can see that the change number 2 that was made in my text file has been undone. Alright, so you can move between any commits that that you want. So let's say you've made an error, you broke your environment, you can go and reset to a commit that you know that was working. And that's how you do it. But that was only in this case. Let's say though you made a commit and you pushed remotely, and now you can't simply just do git reset because you've also pushed these changes remotely. So to do this, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to type in git revert and then the ID of what you're trying to revert to. Right now I haven't pushed the master to the remote repository, so let's actually do that and type in git push. Alright, so I've created this test file that's basically useless, and I don't want it in my remote repository. And this is a change that you can't use the git reset for, because the git resets for only when you want to reset something that's been done locally. But now that you've pushed remotely, you can't just undo what you've done. So a safe way to fix this is to actually make another commit which undoes or removes any changes that you've made. So it's not like you're rewriting the history of your repo, you're just adding a new commit afterward. So if I go to the Git log, I don't want to create this file. I just want it gone, right? Because it does nothing for my repo. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do git revert, and I want the ID of the commit I want to revert. So remember, you need to revert sequentially. So let's say I wanted to reach this commit, I would have to revert this, then revert this. So right now I only just want to undo this commit, so I'm going to revert, paste this ID, and give it the option where it doesn't automatically commit the revert that I've done. Alright, so now that I've reverted, I'm going to now commit this change and just say that I revert to previous commit. And I can see that I deleted this file that I put in. It just undid the change. Alright, and I just simply type git push, and it's as simple as that. Basically fixed your repo or your remote repo, right? Because we simply can't just rewrite the history of the repo. It's a lot better to just create a new commit that undoes your changes. And that's how you basically fix any mistakes that you may have made when committing in your repo, both locally and remotely. And that's it for the Git tutorial. I hope you've learned a lot, and that you now know how to fork, how to branch, how to pull changes, how to push changes, how to move between local branches, how to make commits, and how to undo commits that you've made either locally or remotely. I hope this has helped you. And once again, if you have any questions, you can contact me at my email right over here. Or you can also reach me at my LinkedIn account, which contains various forms of contact information. And if you have any questions about the BreazeHome project as a whole, please feel free to contact Professor Masood Sajadi, who is both a product owner and mentor for this project, at his email listed below.